Welcome to the latest edition of the Black Bird's Eye View. My name is Robin S., putting information in the air like I do sometimes. And we are here today with Alana Sharp. Hi, Alana. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful. Alana is a best-selling author. Her book, Was It My Fault? A Narcissistic Abuse Survivor Story, is a story that you're going to want to hear. It's going to be uplifting. It's going to help somebody lift themselves up out of a sunken place. She is a certified high conflict divorce and child custody consultant. And I want to just welcome you from there. So now we can have this awesome conversation. Your book, tell me the moment you realized you were going to write your book.
The moment I realized I was going to write my book was when I got asked by the fifth person, how did you get out of your relationship? And what steps did you take to heal from it? And when I got that fifth question, I realized that by telling my story and what I went through and how I got out, I could help others. So I decided to turn what I was calling therapeutic journals at the time into a book. Okay. And that's how the book came to life.
All right. So you started writing the book and you took yourself extremely seriously and you went ahead and sent it off, and you self-published this book?
Yes, I self-published.
I love it. That means you did it with direct intention. And tell me, in a nutshell, this is your memoir. You're telling your life story. So you were married to a man, and finish that sentence for me.
I was. Not only was I married to a man, and this has to do with the story as well, but we were an interracial couple. So I was married to a Caucasian man, and we had 3 children together. My oldest not being his, he actually adopted my oldest, and then we had 2 children together.
Okay. So you married a man, and you were in a relationship, in a interracial relationship with a man. You had 3 children, one with a previous relationship. Initially, did you see the signs of a narcissist? Is it something that kind of crept up after a while? Were there warning signs?
There were red flags initially in the relationship that I ignored. And I detailed them in my book. So as I tell my story in the book, I point out all the red flags I missed very early on in the relationship.
So you missed the red flags. Was there how long did this abuse go on? This is mental abuse. I'm saying, how long because people think that if he's not hitting you, he's not hurting you, or if she's not hitting you, she's not hurting you. But abuse is abuse. When you stop and think about it from a realistic perspective, was it years? Was it months?
16 years.
16 years. And one day, something clicked and you just knew that you deserved better.
Correct.
Do you remember that day?
I remember it very vividly, and it wasn't because of what was happening to me. I saw him assault my oldest son, and that's when ding, 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 my children are not safe. I need to get out of this relationship.
So for your children, you left the comfort and the financial security of this bad relationship, and you stepped out on a faith in yourself that you knew that you would be okay as long as you got out of this situation.
That is correct. I had to completely start over from scratch.
Did you ever think about going back after you walked away?
Never.
Never once. And have you seen him since?
Yes, because we still have a minor child that we share.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Still to this day is a minor child.
Yes.
And so then you decided that you were going to take what you knew and you were going to help other women who are walking or have walked in your shoes. and you decided to be a consultant.
I did, because I felt so alone when I was going through it, and it is the worst feeling in the world, the stress that you go through, the fear of losing your children. I didn't want anyone else to go through that experience without knowing what to expect.
Mm-mm-mm. And so each time you deal with the client, is a part of it like reliving it, or is it more healing every time you talk about it?
A part of it is reliving it, because I can see myself in them, especially when they're at the height of their trauma and they're crying as they tell me their story. I can get
Mhm.
triggered from my own story.
It's crazy. I know you and I talked last week, briefly. When you think about the system, and by the system, I mean the people who are in place to protect, the people who are in place to create the rules and the laws to protect. In a lot of ways, it's just the cards are not even. Um, in my particular case, I remember my abusive ex-husband, and he was mean as a snake. I remember him. I remember being all bloody, and I remember the police officers looking at me saying, "You don't want to press charges against your husband. That's the father of your child." Because I was pregnant at the time, I was 9 months pregnant, 2 weeks overdue, and instead of the police coming to protect me because I was battered, they came and made me feel as if I sent him to jail. I was the bad one. And I've seen countless people with similar stories where you would think that we would be protected, when the reality is, in a lot of cases, it's the person who is the predator, it's the person who is the abuser that is being protected. Has that been your experience?
It has been. And if you have not been physically abused, it's even harder. So even though you are being stalked, harassed, dragged through the legal system over and over, it's not recognized.
Mm-mm-mm. What do you think we can do as women?
Get our representatives on board so that we can change the laws.
So we got to start somewhere. So you and I are talking about creating a panel, and this panel will be all women, and we will talk about those taboo topics that people don't want to talk about, or the things that people tend to sweep under the rug. My experience was that the bulk of the masses prefer a lie to an uncomfortable truth. It's easier to get behind someone not doing something wrong than it is getting behind someone who did do something wrong, when you're talking about family members and coworkers and friends. I think it is imperative that we sit down and we point our fingers at these characteristics, and that we make it so uncomfortable for these abusers that they think twice before abusing. Because I think up until this point, the census has been to protect the family name, not necessarily the family member. And I think that if we get enough people on board talking about this, yes, this happened to me. Yes, this is the pattern that I noticed. This is what needs to be addressed. I really do think we can make a powerful, powerful difference in the way women are. We're just not protected. We want to think we are, but if we are protected, why do so many of us have such similar stories?
Agreed. We're not protected at all. The system is not built to protect us.
It's not. It's built to do exactly what it's doing. Um, and it's disheartening. It's extremely disheartening. I was talking to a friend of mine, and it's people don't really think about what they say to people who've been victims or what is it? Is it survivors? Not survivors.
SurThriver.
SurThrivers, because SurThrivers of a narcissistic ex or whatever it is that they are thriving through. I love that SurThriver. You should definitely trademark that. But should have probably not said that. I'll take that out. But but long story short, it is imperative that we band together. And it's not for everybody. I tell people all the time, if you're going to stand up and tell the truth about something that paints your people in a bad light, be it your husband or your family member, your friend, or whoever, just be prepared for the fallout. Did you experience any fallout when you decided to tell the truth?
So I'll describe fallout in two different ways. From my side of the family, they only knew my ex as this loving, charismatic man. They couldn't even imagine that he did all of the terrible things that he did to myself and to my children. My ex-husband's side of the family, they completely went into defense mode and protected him and ignored everything that I said and my children said about their father. They didn't believe any of it.
I believe you. I believe you. My brother went online and made this crazy public post about how crazy Robin was to be writing this book and how I must be like financially strapped and really needing some money. But I thank him though, because what that did, it made me realize that I was on an island by myself pointing my finger at this man. And at any given time, someone could say, hey, she's a liar. She made that up. That's not true, you know? And a friend of mine and I were talking, and she was like, Robin, wouldn't it be nice if you could get yourself some proof? And to me, that translated to get yourself some power. And I went home and recorded his confession so that when people have anything to say about it not being true, I could counter with, well, what about when he's apologizing here? What about when he said, I've done wrong and that's all I can do? And you have to forgive me. And the Lord forgave me and you got to forgive me too. You know, all this mess, you know. But I thought it was very disheartening that I had to go and get proof, because it was easier to call me a liar than to say, well, why would she make this up about a man that raised her? I was a liar. And if I hadn't went and got my proof right now, I would still be a liar. And it's sad because the average person doesn't have the strength to confront their abuser face to face to get proof. You know, in the state of North Carolina, a child who has been molested has 10 years from the time they turn 18. So they have until they turn 28 to, you know, go to the authorities and say, hey, he did this to me. And if you don't do it by the time you turn 28, you don't have any other recourse, because it's just over. It's like he never did it. And I wasn't ready to confront my people until I was 51. You know what I mean? We're not, when we're young, we're not ready to stand up against a whole family. We're not ready to be on the outside looking in. We're trying to do whatever it takes for everything to be okay, even if okay is dysfunctional. Do you feel like at the end of the day, your circle now in this day and time is a completely different circle than it was when you were married?
I do.
And do you feel like it had to be that way because people chose sides and some of them didn't care? They just decided to side with him because that was just the thing to do. It was easier to make it out like maybe you were over exaggerating.
Yes. And those are people I choose not to have in my life. You know, I had proof, I had evidence. What more do you need?
If you have proof and you have evidence and people still, no one texts me now that I have proof and evidence, but if you have proof and you have evidence and people still don't want to believe, that's because they made up their mind. that it's easier to believe an uncomfortable lie, no, a lie than an uncomfortable truth. Girl, it's just very disheartening to even think about. But I'm very interested in working with you and seeing what we can do, what kind of waves we can make so that we can say, hey, as women, we demand protection.
That's right.
We why should we have to demand what should come naturally? Why should we have to prove that we were abused? You know, and it's really sad because you thought somebody could easily say, well, what about all those women who, for whatever reason, are out here just making stuff up because they're mad at their boyfriend? I want to say something to those women. If you're the kind of woman who will make up a heinous lie about a good man because he doesn't want you, you are our biggest threat. You are the woman's biggest threat, because all it takes is for one woman to cry wolf and there not be a wolf for us all to be considered wolfing. All of us are lying. So if you're out there and it's your nature to set a brother up or a man up or however you want to say or vice versa, because you know men get abused too. They're narcissistic women. They're sexually abusive women as well. But I'm only speaking from what I know. If you're one of those who's out here making it hard for us, just know it's just not a good look. And if you're one of those women who's protecting him because he's your son, or he's your husband, or he's your pastor, or he's a good fireman. My police told me that most child predators are people who you would least expect them to be. They're people who go to work every day with ties and things on, gainfully employed. And that was my ex. My ex that I was with after my ex-husband, who was abusive, he was a child predator too. And he was the only person I ever told that I had been molested. And he turned around and molested my daughter. And he went to work every day. So you got to know, we're coming from all of these different perspectives. We have so much that we can put on the table to make this make sense. But if you're one of those women and you're running around here protecting these men, you're a problem to yourself and anybody you come in contact with, because protecting this man because you're related to him, you're not doing him any favors, and he's going to mess around and run up on the wrong woman one day. And then you're going to have more to worry about than somebody telling on him. You're going to be worrying about slow rides in cemeteries because somebody's going to snap one of these days. You can't get away with harming people forever. And that's not me, endorsing any type of violent activity. I'm just saying, if your son doesn't get himself under control, he really does run the risk of trying it with the wrong persons, messing with the wrong person's child, messing with the wrong woman who has had enough. And now your narcissistic ways have pushed her over the edge and now she unsnapped, So think about that. Your husband is lucky. He's lucky that it's you and that you just wrote a book. You could have really, really went in a very foul direction and he would have had it coming and you would still be called a liar. So what's the difference? Your freedom is the only difference.
Right.
You gotta be out for your children. But when it happened to my daughter, if it wasn't for my friend Kim, I would probably be just now getting out of prison. And that's a fact. If it wasn't for a friend who looked at me in my eyes and said, snap out of it, Robin, because I saw red. And when something like that happens to your child and you can't protect your child, man, it does something to your spirit. So I commend you for looking up and saying, hey, this is what's going on with my son. It's time for us to get out of here because they're not safe anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I commend you for loving yourself enough to write that book. And instead of it being something that brings you sorrow, it's something that you can actually raise your chin and be proud of, because not only was it your therapy, it's also therapy for those people you've never even met before.
You're absolutely right.
It's commendable. And I'm excited about your work. And I'm here for you 100% honestly, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who talk the talk, but when it comes time to walk the walk, folks just don't want to put their neck out there. But when you've already written the book, you've already put your neck out there. So that's half the battle. You don't have any secrets. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You don't have any secrets. It's a freedom to it. I said that the hardest thing I ever did wasn't writing my book. The hardest thing to do was like, oh my gosh, now it's at the editors. They're editing the book. Oh my gosh, now now it's time to press this button and send it to the publisher. And then like if once I push this button, now I got to send it to the world. And once you push that button, it's like this bell you can't unring. The most freeing thing I ever did was push the button. It was the saddest thing I ever had to do. But if I hadn't have pushed it, I question whether I'd be here right now, because I was in a bad place. So to our listeners and viewers, if you are in a place where you're at the end of your rope, push the button. It can't get no worse than the end of the rope. You can only use that rope and pull yourself back in. Come on back, pull yourself back in and accept the help that can be given to you. Where can people order your book?
They can order it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any online bookstore. It's available for purchase.
I love it. And your website? What's your website?
My website is www.SurThriveTribe.com.
Could you say that one more time, please?
Yes, www.SurThriveTribe.com.
And we'll put it in the comment section for this video as well. Tell me, I'm skimming through your information now, and I see where it says love does not control, love is not cruel or manipulative, love does not break your spirit. What kind of words would you offer? Look into the camera and talk to someone who you used to be.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Your current circumstances do not dictate your future. You are not stuck. You are not alone. Reach out to someone and ask for help, whether that's a family member, a friend, a therapist, a teacher. You can call me, a divorce coach. Reach out to someone and let them know you need guidance so that they can take you to the other side. And it is not your fault. Nothing that is happening to you is your fault.
Exactly. And tell someone who's going through a divorce and they were married to a narcissistic person, tell them why they could probably use a service that you provide.
The service that I provide will help you navigate the legal system. The family court system is something you do not understand because it doesn't work logically. I provide a service of explaining how the family court system works and how to put together your case so that you can build a strong case to fight back against the abuse that you will encounter from your narcissistic ex.
Yes, yes. Goodness gracious, Alana. I love it. I'm so happy that this is the route that you took. And I'm so happy that you and I have connected and look so forward to doing this good work with you. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners and the readers?
Yes, I want to tell them, please, it's so important because I've been there. Do not feel ashamed. Please reach out. If you need to talk to someone, like I said, reach out to me. If you're too ashamed to reach out to someone that you know, reach out for help. It's not going to get better. These people do not change. They do not change. The best thing to do is to just put a plan together, change your circumstances, and pull yourself out.
You said a mouthful too, because they don't change. They don't change. A narcissistic personality, I'm probably saying it wrong. Narcissistic personality, that's mental. It's not like you can, that's not like you can just get up and say, well, you know, I guess you could go to therapy and try to find some way to tame it, but don't put yourself in harm's way. Get out. You're better off by yourself than in a bad situation. And like Alana said, she's someone you can reach out to. There are places in just about every city, in every state. Here in Raleigh, we have Interact. You know, Interact is a place where you can go to if you're running, if you need to escape, you know. And I'm pretty sure there are others. I'll do some research and maybe come up with a resource list that we can put out with this piece, because I think that would be very helpful as well. I just want to make sure we covered your book, we covered your services, we covered why you do what you do. I talked to a lot of different types of people. And you're right here in North Carolina too. So you're considered a North Carolina pioneer. And I asked, oh, and you're a pioneer because you're doing something that I don't know anyone else that's doing it. And you're doing it for the better of the collective instead of the one. And I really do feel like what's best for the world is truly what's best for everybody. So, and I've had this conversation with a few people. So I respect your desire to help a collective as opposed to just yourself. If you were in a position where you could bestow 3 jewels upon the masses, and that is, you could ask 3 questions. If you were in a position where you could bestow 3, let me do it again. If you were in a position where you could bestow 3 jewels upon the masses, and that is, you could give the whole entire world, all over the world, even outer space for aliens, 3 things that would better mankind. What 3 jewels would you drop? What 3 things would you share to better mankind? No answer's too long, no answer's too short, no answer's right, and no answer is wrong.
Love, happiness, and empathy.
Love, and tell me what you mean by just saying those words.
Love, because as humans, we all value being loved. We want to be loved. We want to share love, right?
Yes.
Happiness. War, we have a lot of war. We have a lot of discourse. We have a lot of disconnect in our world right now. Happiness, to bring together everyone and to unify our world.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy, being able to relate to someone and feel their pain and understand their circumstances. I was in a 16-year marriage with someone who had 0 empathy. So I know what it feels like to be around people that cannot empathize. I think that if we have more empathy in our world, then we can unify as well. I think that it will help with the racism and the division that we have, because we can empathize and sympathize with those who have experienced trauma from others.
I totally agree. Those are good three gems to drop. One day I'm gonna go back and look at all my interviews and put all my gems in one thing. But I want to take the time to thank you first and foremost for your time and for sharing and for the intimacy of putting it all on the line for all of the right reasons. And I'm proud of you for getting away and for not staying, for not doing what would be the easy thing to do in terms of for fear, you know. So just know, if no one else has told you today, I appreciate your good, noble work. And I feel as if it's sad that it's a calling, but you're perfect for it. You know, you're perfect for it. And I believe in my spirit that this is a good connection. And I totally look forward to seeing what is next. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the discussion.
I did too.